What today's going to look like is that each one of our panelists will introduce themselves. They will kind of give us a snapshot of what a Sunday service looks like, and we will take some questions from y'all. And also, we would like to kind of share what our hope is for what we've come out of in the past and what our present hope is and our future hope. The future hope can seem very scary, especially in these times. So what we'll do is we'll start at the end with okay, Evangelist, and then we'll come on down to Father Brad.
My name is the Reverend Dr. Josh Robinson. I'm the senior pastor at Hope Presbyterian Church in Austin. We are in the city of Austin in Round Rock Independent School District. Half of our campus is Travis County. The other half of our campus is Williamson County. It all depends on what happens when you call 911 and what side of the campus you're on. We are at the closest intersection to us would be 183 and Anderson Mill Road. And on a Sunday morning, we have worship at 10 o'clock. And then our Christian education time is at 11:30 following our worship. So we say, come for worship, stay for growth. Our worship experience is in the Presbyterian denomination has a liturgical order that is rooted in 500 years of tradition and history. And so while there is some similarity with regard to our order and our flow, each part of our worship service is created and crafted based on that week's primary message. And I think most folks would find with us that very rarely do you see someone in a suit. When we say come as you are, sadly, I see the youth with their Texas Tech Raiders shirt, or, folks who are coming straight from a Sunday morning soccer game to folks who are dressed Sunday casual, etc. I like to think that our worship service is not in the scale of worship from what you would call high church with a lot of liturgical pomp, circumstance, and movement and words and liturgy, etc., to low church where you just kind of come and we kind of make it up on the fly, etc. Presbyterian denomination, in our church in particular, would find a nice healthy balance between high church and low church, and the three of us clergy who serve at Hope, we ourselves enjoy high liturgy, but we also feel that it needs to be accessible to the people. And if it's so high that it's not accessible, then it's hard for them to participate actively and meaningfully into the sacred of our worship. I think that's the
over. Yeah, real quick. I just want to ask everyone on the panel. I've met a lot of people that will not come to a Sunday service for various different reasons, but they do want to connect with Jesus and they do want to increase their faith. What do you do in your churches or your communities to minister to those people that won't come in on Sunday morning?
I want to preface the answer to that by saying how important it is to be connected with your city's or town's pride organization. In the city of Cedar Park, the Cedar Park Pride organization has invited me in to serve as a spiritual liaison on the Pride board, not as a Christian, but as folks are, we all encounter spiritual issues in one way or another. And how do we wrestle with those items? How do we wrestle with things that seem beyond our ability to process? And I appreciate that they created that role for me to be able to do that. So I think how important it is to stay connected with your pride organizations, whether it's in Pflugerville, Round Rock, Leander. And if you got questions about Leander, please see James, or Cedar Park, or Austin. I think it's important to connect to those places. For for myself, I can't tell you how important it is to be out of the brick and mortar church property and to be where folks are. And so in Cedar Park, which is pretty much my area, we do a twice a month drag brunch. Well, once a month drag brunch and once a month after dark. And be there, being the best visible presence of what it is that we represent. In our neck of the woods, there are all, forgive me for answering very longly, but when you get west of I-35 and Cedar Park, Leander, from 620 all the way to Liberty Hill, there are 90 places of faith, 90 faith communities. Only 9 of them are explicitly open and affirming. And we have formed an alliance where we gather to share that life together, and how important it is for us to be gather to share that life together, and how important it is for us to be a visible presence for those in the community who either want to practice their faith or don't, but also to know that that this is not just a community of exclusion because of the dominant voices of the 81. So I would say for me, it's a matter of being out at coffee shops and at the drag brunches and being at festivals, places where the community is showing up and we could be a visible representation of our faith.
I just want to thank all of you. I'm old. I'm only 64.
Oh, I've got to be.
I appreciate, and I know some of you personally, and I consider you friends. I have family back east. My spouse passed away about 1.5 years ago. And Brett is the reason we moved here. And I have friends back east, family and friends that are like, what in the world are you still doing in Texas? And I'm still in Texas because I really do. I think we're right on the edge of really making incredible progress, incredible change. But I'm also very well aware, I guess it's been 2, maybe coming up on 3 years now. We had the hate crime murder of Akira Ross in Cedar Park, of all places. And we could not get the Williamson County attorney to file hate crime charges against that person, even though they were the witnesses caught and told the authorities this person called a lesbian an F-word. Said authorities, this person called a lesbian an F-word. So there's a Baptist affirming church, so we are making progress day by day, step by step. And I just thank all of you for all the work you're doing. Thank you much.
Thank you, James. I want to respond with just a few things. First to you to say, for any of you in here or for the folks on Britt's Fruitop, gaychurch.org is in our area at the same time, 2013, 2014, and have witnessed how our cities, Cedar Park and Leander, have gone through some watershed moments. There was an open affirming church in Leander that was meeting in the library, and essentially, the hate became too much and it ran them out. And I think that was a catalyst moment, a watershed moment for several of our faith communities to say, wow, where is our voice? And the murder that James mentioned is right down the street from our churches. And that was a turning point moment for me to say, I cannot believe this took place in the city where I live and I serve. And it is not there. We are not in the streets with signs and raising our voices. Where is our faith community's voice in such a heinous moment as that murder? And that was the turning point for me. As I started doing a deep dive in the research in Cedar Park, Leander, I became and still remain terrified for our teenagers, our LGBTQIA teenagers. There are no places for them to safely gather other than Rep. Joe's church and my church. There are no community resources. There are now no GSA clubs. And I serve also as a volunteer chaplain for Cedar Park Police Department. And I'm terrified about our suicide rates for our young people. And so I know I have numbers of my church members who are actively leaving the state. Our witness here is to be safe havens for those who stay and have no ability to go anywhere else. They still need to know that there is a place of love, of safety, and have no ability to go anywhere else. They still need to know that there is a place of love, of safety.
And it's bad. Sure.
I want to take just slightly different. And the first thing that came to mind when you asked that, the first two words that came to my mind were no thanks. And it's taken a long time to learn that I have the choice to not engage. And I govern my life. I don't feed trolls, and I have the agency to not engage. And I had to learn that first with my family. I am not like the others in my family, and that was hard. It's a hard lesson to practice. At this last summer's Round Rock Pride, there was an evangelical church on the perimeters that were trying to stop folks on the way out and to engage them. And that's where I learned to say, no, thank you, no thanks. Now, the other side of that, I think the same mindset that I had about wanting to be out in the community and meet folks where they are and build trust, build relationships, those skills also transfer to my evangelical friends, and to love them wholly, to believe there is sacred inside of them, and to continue in building that relationship to the day in which they'll come around and ask, how in the world are you reading it this way, Pastor Josh? Well, now they've opened the door. Yes. But when they come at me, I just say, don't thank you. And I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah.
My question has to do with, and I think, sorry, maybe you have discussed it already, but I'm thinking about dialogues. As a member of St. Joan of Arc, I think our community, it's, in Pflugerville, has been in several transitions that, so we have people from different that have been faithful to God and continue in faith as a community that have the heart of doing that. And we have multiple generations of present, and it's something that is unique is this there's a call, I think, of the inclusion. I'm actually lesbian. I'm married to my wife. We're be together 23 years now, actually. And this past year, we had actually at St. Joan of Arc we were reviewing our mission and had this process as a community discernment. But I'm talking, my question has to do with dialogue. I'm putting this background to give you a little bit of context, because I think in the role that I am of being the call for us to the priesthood within the Episcopal Church, I think of myself, how I'm going to have these dialogues of people to continue the inclusion. There was a lot of conversation about using, this is something more within the Episcopal beliefs of radical inclusion. Just using those words, it was very interesting to see the hesitancy. Even right now, I'll say there's a lot of people that actually I was expecting here today that I just sent a text message, where are you all? Because how do you keep people in that conversation when you have people who may feel they're included or they include us? And I say us because I'm a lesbian, a part of the LGBT community, but they still are in this struggle of faith to really make it as an active, open community. Like the action of doing that. There's a one thing of saying in paper, we are, or some label or some check that you put somewhere, but making that in faith and engaging in those difficult conversations. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to go to. How do you have those difficult conversations with such a position, with people who really have the heart of trying to create that kind of community of faith in our area, and the fear is still there, the struggle is still there. How do you encourage them on keeping Jesus at center of that conversation of what can that look like? And I don't know. I asking that because that's something that I think it was. I was able to have it, but it was like very challenging. And maybe I want to hear from you because they created the spaces for conversations like this. On whomever shows up is the key of growth. I believe in small steps. You get to change because of the small steps that you do. And
I have to really applaud Reverend Britt in the courage that you've put out on social media through your postings, but also through the organization of the faith panel, and in a day and age when that takes a lot of courage and boldness. I want to echo what Rev Joe said. We're putting invitations out from the front door and also leaving room for the side door for, that we're willing and able to take these conversations, however it is that we can give them. I think it's also important for someone like myself, who is a straight white, cishet dude, to recognize those areas where I have a little bit more access and privilege, and to be able to put my foot in the door, to leave that door open for broader conversations, to ask the question, wow, okay, well, there's 30 of us in this room. We're all straight white dudes. Who isn't here? And what voices are we being myopic about? And a kind of echo chamber have we created? So I know that that's an important part for me. One of the ways in which I developed a relationship with Rev Joe is serving with Leander ISD's Creative Leaders Council. And that took a lot more courage for me to show up in a room full of 40 evangelicals, Rev Joe, Rebecca Reese, and myself, going, wow, which one of these ain't like the other? And thank God that the superintendent saw the value of, and has leaned into this value of, we need the diversity of voices around this table for the benefit of our kiddos. And I really appreciate the courage of someone like Pastor Brett, Rev Joe, and my life to be able to say, I could be more courageous myself. But it's courageous conversations is what you're talking about. And I think finding a way in which we are doing it on such a regular basis, at Hope, we make it intentional, and we are going to have 2 growth opportunities a year that are going to be larger, more difficult conversations, so we can exercise the discipline of having courageous conversations. And the goal that I asked everybody is to approach in good faith, assume the best out of everyone in the room. And that's really where we strive to start. And a lot of that is learning from folks who have had to do it the very hard way, either concealing their identity or had to take all of the arrows that the institution has shot their way. And sometimes folks like myself need to say, we've got to stomp this nonsense and look at the harm we're doing in the name of Jesus.